one of the benefits that I've had in organizing this conference over the last few years for NYU is that I get the privilege and opportunity to work with some really outstanding students who volunteer their time, their expertise, and their incredibly fabulous perspective in what types of programming and critical issues should we be discussing among leaders in cybersecurity. And at this point, I'm privileged to introduce you to three students who have worked incredibly well and assisted me together on the program for today. And they're going to introduce themselves and talk to you a little bit about their role at NYU. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Judy, and thanks to everyone for being here today with us, to our speakers, our panelists, and moderators, and especially our honoree. My name is Olivia Zhu, and I'm a current 2L at NYU Law in the Cybersecurity Scholarship Program. NYU takes very seriously its responsibility to foster an educational community that values student engagement, and the three of us have the opportunity to assist with the planning of today's conference and to work with the Center for Cybersecurity in several different ways. Before introducing our honoree today, Sylvia Acevedo, the recipient of the 2018 Women Leaders in Cybersecurity Award, we wanted to take the time to highlight the opportunities the NYU Center for Cybersecurity has created to expose its students to this important and exciting field. The Cybersecurity Service Scholarship is the successor to the Aspire Scholarship, funded by the Federal Scholarship for Service program, and it prepares recipients for cybersecurity roles in the public sector by providing rigorous technical training. Scholars take cybersecurity classes both at the Tandon School for Engineering and at the law school, and they also participate in a weekly workshop to exchange ideas with our professors and the other cybersecurity scholarship recipients here. I've been so grateful to be a member of the cybersecurity community here at NYU through this scholarship. And over the course of being part of it, I've been able to engage deeply with cybersecurity issues at the intersection of law and technology, to discuss these problems with thoughtful, kind, and generous colleagues, and to broaden my own horizons as I prepare to enter a fast-paced and ever-developing field. And likewise, it's been a phenomenal experience getting to know other students who feel the same, like Claire here, and like Laura, who is also a recipient of an NYU Cyber Scholarship.
Hi everyone, my name is Laura Cerise. I'm a third-year law student here at NYU, and as Olivia mentioned, I'm also a recipient of a scholarship through the Center on Cybersecurity called the Cyber Scholars Program. And similar to the program Olivia described, I've had the chance to take technical courses with the Tandon School of Engineering, meet weekly with a community of peers who are similarly interested in this area of law, and also to hear from so many professionals who are eager to supplement our learning in the classroom in the field of cybersecurity. But this program is just one of the many ways that NYU supports students in exploring our individual interests, whether it's technically in engineering, in other areas of cybersecurity, or in law and policy, and to really train us for a highly competitive and changing legal environment once we graduate. But on that note, we would like to take the time to thank the Center for the opportunities it's provided for us, but specifically Judith Germano and Sarnavaz Bakhtiar, who have just really impressed us in inspiring us with all of the hard work they've done for this conference and given us the privilege of including us in the planning. So thank you so much. And so today we take the time to honor a woman leader in cybersecurity who we are thrilled to have on campus. Sylvia Acevedo's presence here and the presence of so many inspiring women in this field are part of what makes the NYU Center on Cybersecurity such a unique resource for students. So as we move forward in our own careers, we look forward to taking the wisdom shared at conferences like the one today with us to the future. So now Claire will have the privilege of introducing Sylvia.
Hi everyone, I'm Claire Groden. I'm a 1L student here at the law school, and I have the pleasure of introducing Sylvia Acevedo, the 2018 Women Leaders in Cybersecurity Award honoree. The Women Leaders in Cybersecurity Award was created to recognize an outstanding woman leader who's making a significant positive impact in the field of cybersecurity and who is working to encourage and empower other women and girls in the field. We are thrilled to honor Sylvia Acevedo this year for her work as the CEO of Girl Scouts. Sylvia first joined Girl Scouts as a 7-year-old girl in New Mexico. Since then, she went on to become an engineer, working at a NASA Jet Propulsion Lab, IBM, Autodesk, and Apple. Sylvia is an entrepreneur. She previously launched and sold her own business software startup, and she has been innovating the Girl Scouts experience since she became CEO last year. Sylvia added a slew of new badges focusing on STEM skills, including cybersecurity, mechanical engineering, and robotics. And Girl Scouts recently opened a center in Texas dedicating to teaching girls math and science skills. Meanwhile, Sylvia found the time to write a memoir, Path to the Stars, about her journey from Girl Scout to rocket scientist. We're inspired by Sylvia's dedication to fostering the next generation of women in science and to creating communities where women lift other women up. Please join me in welcoming and congratulating this year's NYU Women Leaders in Cybersecurity honoree, Sylvia Acevedo.
Hi, everybody. Thank you. Thank you very much, and thanks for taking the time, and thank you for organizing this amazing event. So today what I thought I'd like to do is tell you a little bit about my Girl Scout story and how I got here, and then tell you about what we're doing in Girl Scouts with cybersecurity and why it matters to you. How's that sound? Sound good? All right, first of all, how many Girl Scouts are in the house? All right. Good, great. Glad to hear that. All right, so I want to tell you a little bit what happened to me about a dozen years ago. I'd had this technology career, I'd sold a company, had a successful exit, was thinking about what to do next in my life, and I got this phone call from somebody at Stanford University, Stanford Archives. Now, I don't know about you, but when somebody calls you from an archives department, you start to feel old, all right? So I said, okay. And they said, you know, we want to know, and we want to interview you because you're one of the few and one of the first Hispanic, male or female, to have ever gotten your graduate engineering degree from Stanford. And frankly, when you came, Stanford wasn't even recruiting from the part of the country that you're from, which is southern New Mexico. So they said, so how was it that you had the right background, the right skills, and you were able to really succeed and thrive in this very competitive environment? And the more they talked to me about that and interviewed me, they kept saying, well, did you come from rich ranchers? Hardly. For part of my life, I lived on a dirt road, right? So they kept saying, but how was it? And what I realized was it all hinged, the inflection point in my life was when I was a young Girl Scout. And my troop leader saw me looking at the stars, and she pointed out that they were constellations. So before then, I had looked at the stars many times, and I just thought they were like twinkly lights up there, right? But then she taught me about that. There was the Milky Way, there was the Big Dipper and the Little Dipper, and I got really fascinated. Well, she remembered that conversation because a little bit later, we were deciding on badges. And I was with a lot of my friends, and they all wanted to earn their cooking badge. And she said, well, Sylvia, why don't you try to earn your science badge? And I said, no, I want to be like all my friends. And she said, no, you can do both. So I earned my cooking badge, and I earned my science badge making Estes rockets. And you know, it took me several trials and efforts to try to get that rocket to leave the ground. So I learned a lot about gravity. But I also learned that cooking was a lot like science, because you had to read the directions, you had to get the chemicals or the ingredients right, you had to get the heat source right, and when you did that, you know, trial and error, you would have success. So at that very young age, I began taking science and math, and the more I took science and math, the more I liked it, and the more I got good at it, and the better I got at it, the more math and science I took. So much so that I ended up becoming a rocket scientist at JPL, Jet Propulsion Labs, And one of the cool things about being a Girl Scout CEO is you get your own patch. So instead of a business card, I have a patch, and my patch tells my Girl Scout story. You can see it on LinkedIn. If you go to my LinkedIn profile, and you'll see that there's the stars in homage to my troop leaders. There's a little rocket, a rocket CEO, right? Homage to my Estes rocket. An atom, and the nucleus is Girl Scouts. And then it's not a cookie, it's the planet Jupiter, because I worked on, one of the 2 missions I worked on at JPL was the Voyager 2, which went by Jupiter and its moons Io and Europa. Well, after I worked at JPL, I ended up going to Stanford University and landing right smack in the middle of ground zero of Silicon Valley. And with the exact right background, right? You know, it really does come in handy when you're a bunch of posturing fellow engineers and they're like, this is really tough. And I'm like, yeah, it's not rocket science. So I was able to have an amazing technology career. And in fact, just recently, a research report came out. I became an executive working at some of those companies they had mentioned, Dell, Apple, IBM, that less than half of 1%, which is basically almost not measurable, are women like me in Silicon Valley. Holy cow. So then you think about, well, so how was that? And I'm just so grateful that Girl Scouts not only gave me the skills, but it gave me that confidence, that courage to be able to overcome many of the challenges. For example, I don't know how many of you know of Iconic Cookie Program, which is the Girl Scout cookies. For me, that was life-changing because it taught me how to create opportunity. And when you are raised in near poverty like I was, you don't know how to create opportunity. You really don't. Because if you knew how to create opportunity, you would have. People around you would have. And so it taught me how to set goals, how to create a path to those goals, how to break it up into small steps. But in addition to that, it taught me one of my greatest sales techniques, which is you never leave the sight of a sale until you've heard no 3 times. And when you're a young kid and you're talking to people about buying your cookies, you sell to your church members, you tell to your family, your friends. But at some point, to make that goal, you have to talk to people you don't know very well. And that's when you have to really figure out the first time they say no. And they look at you like, well, walk away, little girl. I said no. And you have to say, how can I turn that no into a yes? And that lesson of never taking no for at least until you've heard it no 3 times was so invaluable in my technology career. Even getting into college, my first college counselor looked at me and said, girls like you don't go to college. I didn't let that stop me. What was that? That was my first no. I plowed right into her office. Okay, let's talk. It helped me later in technology when I was working, and they said, you can't work in global. My goodness, I speak Spanish, I'm bicultural, I've traveled. That was just my first no. And then I said, so why are you saying no? They said, well, we don't feel that you're safe. So I'm like, okay, book myself on a trip, travel to all those countries they don't think I'm safe, come back. I said, okay, challenge met. How do I turn that no into a yes? So all of those Girl Scout experiences, I realized in that Stanford interview, made an indelible difference in my life and did give me that courage and confidence to make the world a better place. Well, then I had this great career. I now had this epiphany about what a difference Girl Scouts made in my life, and so I said, I've got to give back, joined the board. Later on, they asked me to step in as interim CEO, and then they asked me to stay as permanent CEO. And since I've taken the helm, I think about that Stanford archivist question. Look at how I went from dirt streets in rural New Mexico to have this amazing ability to make my dreams come true. So I said, we need to do that for girls across America. We have to have that renewed emphasis. And you see right now, the world is being remade around data. The world is absolutely being remade around data. And we need to make sure that girls have the skills, the confidence, the courage to be able to reshape the future in a way that it involves them. So at Girl Scouts, we've been on a tear recently. If you've noticed, we've got 2 years ago, we introduced 28 STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math badges. We have robotics badges all the way from 5 to 6-year-old girls all the way to high school girls. And you say, well, robotics, what does it matter? Every robot has a sensor. And you go, well, I don't know if I care about sensors. If you care about cybersecurity, you care about sensors. Why? Every one of our cards, credit cards, it's got a sensor in it. And so what we want to make sure that girls, no matter what career choices they take and have in their life, that they have the courage, the confidence to be able to insert themselves into the conversations. So this year we had yet another 31 badges that again are Think Like a Programmer, different types of design badges, different outdoor badges. And what we realized is we want to make sure that at least a third of our badges are unplugged. And why do you say that? Technology without being plugged in? We want to teach the girls the concepts. We want to teach them the theory so that they can decide for themselves. Because if you only are teaching by looking at a screen, somebody has predefined that experience for you. We want girls to wonder without limitations, to wonder as far as the universe. And the great thing about Girl Scouts is that we're the experts in how girls learn and lead. And so we know we want to make it interesting for girls. So what we've done and what we've been able to do to provide all this technology at such a rapid rate is that we've changed to the agile style of product development. So what does that mean? So think about cybersecurity. So they say, you talk to cybersecurity experts, and we've got a couple of partners, Palo Alto Networks, Raytheon, and they'll say, okay, we want to teach girls about technology and cybersecurity, and we got to start first. We're talking about machine coding. Now think about a 5 and 6-year-old girl, and if you talk to the cybersecurity experts and the subject matter experts, they'll say, okay, it starts with machine coding, which is 0 and 1, binary on-off. Think about a 5 and 6-year-old girl. I'll tell you, she's looking at the ceiling, she's doing anything. And at Girl Scouts, we say, that's great. Okay, you told us the concept. Now we're going to make it in a way that's interesting and relevant to girls, 5 and 6-year-olds. So what we do is we put a big table with beads there. And we give them blue beads for 0 and yellow beads for 1. And then we have the alphabet expressed in binary. And we ask them, make a bracelet with your initials. In less than 15 minutes, they've made the bracelet with their initials. So this is S, and this is A. And my initials. And then I'll tell you, in 15 minutes, they're saying, can I have a longer string? Why? They want to put their name on it, right? And then they want a longer string. Why? They want to put a sentence, or they want to put their friends' names and their names in it, right? So in less than half an hour, they know about coding. So if you think about networks, how do you teach girls about malware and how that spreads? Well, again, we talk to the subject matter experts, and they start off and they say, well, a network has 7 protocol levels, and the first protocol level is the physical layer. Again, think about a little girl. I see you guys nodding. She's like, oh my God, right? We're the experts in girl. So we say, so what you want to teach girls is about the physical network level layer. You're like, yeah, we got that. So what do? We get the girls to sit in a circle and talk. Do girls like to do that? Yeah. And then we give them a ball of yarn. And then we ask them to pass that ball of yarn amongst them as they talk. In just a few minutes, they have a physical network. They're going to be able to understand why, while maybe these 2 people had nothing in common and don't normally talk, they see that physical network. How did malware get from your computer to her computer? Ah, now they instantly get it. We are the experts in how girls learn and lead. And so we make sure that all those topics are in a way that are relevant to them. And I want to talk about why that matters to you so much. And there is a huge need for an American-born workforce around technology and around cybersecurity. And when we first started looking at cybersecurity a couple of years ago, it was the girls that led us there. We were testing a lot of other STEM programming, science, technology, engineering, math programming. But the girls said to us, we want to know how to protect ourselves online. We have digital lives. And we trust the Girl Scouts. We are one of the 10th most trusted brands in the world. We trust the Girl Scouts. So teach us how to protect ourselves online. The girls are the ones that have clamored for this. And depending on their ages, the way it gets expressed is, at a young age, they're saying, help me not get sexted, help me not get cyberbullied, help me protect my identity. But how does it look when they're older? They're caring about our electrical grid, they're caring about our water supply, they're caring about our financial systems, they're caring about their family home network, they're caring about the sustainability of our food supply. And I'll tell you, it's so fascinating to me. I was in the agricultural fields of California, not close to Silicon Valley at all, out there talking to a Girl Scout. And we have the highest award you can get in Girl Scouts is the Gold Award, and it's when you take on a societal grand challenge. And this girl said, I'm going to do a Gold Award. I'm going to take on a societal grand challenge. I'm like, okay. I said, what is yours? And she said, my project is, what happens to the sustainability of our food supply when the Internet of Things gets hacked and our combines and our tractors cease to function? Wow, that's like a high school girl. That's the amazing thing about Girl Scouts, is that we had no idea when we were starting this where it would reach. But the thing about Girl Scouts is we are in every residential zip code. And the impact is amazing. So when you think about cybersecurity, we know it's not just about technology. We also know it's about how we create a community, how our elections are run, right? Because STEM, cybersecurity, is impacting even how we vote. And the thing with Girl Scouts is we teach civics from age 5 all the way to 17. And the outcome is, in the United States, half of all female elected officials in America were Girl Scouts. 75% of the US senators, Girl Scouts. All 3 secretaries of state, they don't have a lot in common. One a descendant of slaves, one from the heartland, the other an immigrant. But what did they have in common? Girl Scouts. Do you know almost every female astronaut in space? A Girl Scout. When I go to Silicon Valley, I was just at Dreamforce, 80% of the women there, Girl Scouts. So we have an outsized impact, because it wasn't just me that learned about courage, confidence, and character. It was millions of women. So we are the only youth-serving nonprofit that is not just only teaching girls how to code, teaching girls about design thinking, yes, teaching girls about outdoors and entrepreneurship and project management, yes, we'll always do that. But we are teaching about robotics, but we're teaching about cybersecurity, but we're teaching it in a way that is relevant and interesting to them. And here's why it matters to all of us. It's just recently I was at Apple Computer, and I met with all their top women. Side note, Apple Computer, do you know there's only a company that has more money than cash than the federal government? Do you know how many females report to the CEO? 1. I was just embarrassed. But there were a lot of women that I did meet with. And as I was walking out, these women said, they followed me out and they said, Sylvia, hurry up, Girl Scouts, hurry up. They said, here's what's happening. There are apps being designed around the world that we're not always able to check. So they said, here's 2 examples. One is, think about apps. Everybody was trying to catch up with Quicken's Rocket Mortgage app, so they outsourced all of that. It comes back, the default setting, Mr. Miss is the man with many titles, Esquire, all these other titles. He's the default setting. He's the default owner of the home. The women have 2 titles, Miss and Mrs., and guess what? You have to take action to attach them to the mortgage and to the title. Okay? We need more women and young women being involved in those decisions. Now, another great thing about Girl Scouts is we're incredibly inclusive we serve girls in the hollers, in rural America, in suburban America, and urban America. Do you know in our age group, 5 to 17, African American girls are 14% of the population. In Girl Scouts, they're 12% of the population. We have 200,000 African American girls. Do you know we even have more Latinas in Girl Scouts than African American girls? We have good reach in all demographics. We obviously want to increase because we know of the impact. And so why does that matter? So I go back to Apple and they said, do you know, we have a challenge with our photo software. We outsourced it, and the countries that we outsourced it to, the color of a skin, dark is bad, and women do not have short hair. So I don't know about you, but I get so frustrated with photo software because the shorter my hair gets, the more, is this you? Pictures of men show up. That's a data algorithm. But it's also horribly offensive in our culture too, because the initial software also put the darker your skin, the more you look like a primate. That was horrible. Unfortunately, it happened to both Google and Apple. That is just a computer algorithm. But think about this now. The entire world is about to become a computer algorithm, almost. From the cars to those refrigerators, our washing machines, almost everything around us. And we need more women and girls asking questions. Our mobile devices are going to become our personal physicians. Google, Apple, IBM, Microsoft, they all have 4 independent efforts to try to make our personal devices, our mobile phones, our personal physicians. What happens when it knows you're pregnant before you do? What happens if you're pregnant, you don't know, and you go out for a celebratory drink? Now forever, maybe that insurance company says you are a high-risk pregnancy, and your insurance rate goes way up. A lot of people are not thinking about that because they don't think about us. Do you know it took 7 years? 7 years before Apple's mobile health app even took track of our periods. 7 years. We're half of the population. So at Girl Scouts, we are about giving girls the skills, but also the courage and the confidence and the character to make the world a better place. And right now, when we look around at what is happening, we want more girls to be at those tables, to ask those questions. We have girls that take on those grand societal challenges and make a difference. Just this week here in New York, we had girls, this year's top 10 out of 6,000 girls that took on a grand challenge. How many of you have heard of Starbucks taking out plastic? That started because of a Girl Scouts Grand Challenge. All right? It's amazing the things that they're doing. You might have heard about some laws being changed about ending child marriage. Another Girl Scout major project. There are girls that are doing amazing things. So while we may represent 8% of the girl population, we represent an outsized impact. So when we took on cybersecurity, we realized that this was not just another science, technology, engineering, and math badge. This was going to have the opportunity to train girls, whether at any point in their life they ever code, but it teaches them about how to think, about privacy, about individualism, about freedom, and about protection. And these are issues that we're only now beginning to really address. So I'm very honored to be able to have this opportunity to get the cybersecurity badge, because I can tell you, in every single residential zip code in America, we have Girl Scouts that are creating these really cute little bracelets, right? They're learning about networking, they're learning about hacking, they're learning about how to code in a way, but they're also learning about what is community, what is privacy. How do you allow people to use and access your data? All of these things. And I'm real excited about this opportunity because, you know, when I look back where we are with cybersecurity and a lot of these issues, we don't all share a common history, but we all share the same future. And I am really happy about what we're doing And you can rest assured with what we're doing in Girl Scouts, because what we do with Girl Scouts does indeed make the world a better place. So thank you very much. I'm very honored to get this award. Thank you.
We're going to hear now a few words from Professor Memon from the School of Engineering, one of the original founders of our conference for women and girls in cybersecurity. So thank you, Nasser.
Oops, maybe I'll... Good afternoon, and thank you, Sylvia. It's really inspiring to hear about what she has been doing with the Girl Scouts, and we at NYU as well are committed to creating the future leaders of cybersecurity, just as Sylvia was talking about. In fact, we go a long time back. About 20 years back, I started the cybersecurity program at the School of Engineering. I started a lab called the ISIS lab, unfortunately, and we changed the name since then. And we've come a long way. Now we have a very well-established interdisciplinary center in cybersecurity. And we are committed, as I said, to creating the leaders, the future leaders of cybersecurity. And how do we do that? Well, we do that at various levels. We first graduate more than a dozen PhD students every year. There are about 50 to 60 in the program currently, who do sort of cutting-edge, state-of-the-art research that varies from hardware security all the way to human behavior, social engineering, right? The whole spectrum of sort of the topics that in cybersecurity, including interdisciplinary topics. We then, as Judith mentioned earlier, we have a master's program called Masters in Cybersecurity Risk and Strategy. That's for senior level executives. And it's a joint program between the law school and the engineering school. You do some law courses, some engineering courses. It's a unique, one-of-a-kind program. It's partially online, partially on campus. And then for the more technically oriented or technically focused people, we recently started the master's. I mean, we've been doing a master's in cybersecurity for a decade, but we recently launched the Cyber Fellows program, where you can get a master's degree from NYU in cybersecurity just for the price of about $15,000, right? The entire master's degree, because we're giving 75% scholarships to students. Not only that, if you're a woman or minority, then we have Bridgewater paying for half of your tuition. So you will get a master's, if selected as a Bridgewater scholar, for just $7,000 to $8,000, the entire master's. Right? So we're committed to opening up and this access to cybersecurity education, making it affordable for a large number of people, right? And then we also sort of go down, and we've been trying to attract students to sort of young people to take on cybersecurity as a discipline. We organize something called Seesaw, which is the largest hacking competition in the world. About 20,000 participants we have every year, and the finals that take place in New York, in Haifa, in India, in Kanpur, in Tunisia this year, in France, in Europe, in Mexico City. Simultaneously, these challenges take place as in the final sort of phase of the competition, and that way we attract students to cybersecurity, to learn about cybersecurity, engage with each other, and hopefully take on cybersecurity as a career. We also have summer camps for women in cybersecurity. Every summer we run a camp free for women who are interested in cybersecurity. We take about 50 to 100 students. So again, and if they do well, we give them scholarships to join our program, or of course they can go anywhere else as well. We run summer camps for high school teachers, teach them cybersecurity so that they can go back and teach their own students. We are running after-school cybersecurity clubs for women in 3 schools in New York City as a pilot, where we basically train the teachers who then run an after-school club in cybersecurity for women and get them engaged and involved in cybersecurity. So just wanted to share these facts with you that we do a great many things towards sort of building the future leaders of cybersecurity. And we'd love to work with you. There's information outside about our programs. If you're interested, or if your company or organization is interested, we would love to work with you to sort of help sort of further along this cause. Thank you.